The goal is to appeal to that right demographic.
People are avoiding ads. Some things work, some things don't.
Hey, am I moving in the right direction? And if so, then I'm doing okay.
What do you find is the most emerging platform at the moment?
Probably TikTok.
You know, the police is the only business in the world that don't have to do any marketing, and all day, every day, the door swings off the hinges.
Welcome to The Business Game, a podcast that moves the needle. Hey guys, before we jump into today's episode, we just wanted to take a really quick moment to thank one of our sponsors, Tala Offshore. For any business wanting to maximize their return on new hires, Tala offers seamless access to top-tier Filipino talent who are real employees, hand-selected by the team, slashing your staffing costs by up to 60% with onboarding in under a week. Visit TalaOffshore.com to scale smarter. And thanks again to Tala for supporting The Business Game.
How much physical marketing still exists offline? Were you involved in any of that?
Yeah, so not as much. So we'll do like digital out of home and digital placements through billboards, digital billboards. But it's more, our focus was more digital. I think that businesses need to be at a certain size before they should start investing in platforms like that. The cost for placements across billboards, or if you want to go trams or buses or whatever, it's very high. And so you need to be a business where you're confident that you're going to see that, or you're happy to invest that just as an awareness point so that then your digital can be a bit more trackable.
Can you give us an example of a marketing strategy or a campaign that you were involved in that you thought was very successful and maybe different to normal, traditional?
A recent one that we worked on was the relaunch of American Apparel. So they actually did a combination of various like out-of-home strategies as well, which was really successful. So everyone knows the name American Apparel, and I think being able to bring it back to the market, because I think it was out for like 5 years or so. Don't quote me on that. But, you know, our strategy was to relaunch this business, which had actually been, adjusted through that period, and sort of bring it back into the market, create a target demographic for that. And so a lot of what we've done through that strategy, I keep saying we, a lot of what was done throughout that strategy was to sort of reposition it in the market and re-bring it back in. And that's why we did go outside of just digital for that, because we wanted it to be sort of all-encompassing for them. But that's been really exciting to work on a relaunch strategy. I love working on launches of brands, being able to, from the get-go, create that target demographic and that demand within that market. It's very, very exciting.
And that's so going in ground zero, how did you measure success for that campaign?
It's challenging. And I think that's probably one of the hardest questions that agencies get is, what will I get from this? But, you have industry benchmarks. You know where you should be sitting. You also know what you're inputting into marketing, and you know that like when you are launching from scratch, you know exactly what you're spending and where those sales are coming from. So it is easy in that sense to track that we put in X and we got out Y. When you are working with a brand that's been around for a while, if you tweak different things, it's hard to actually understand what part of that is working. Ultimately, everything that I would track now is outside of the platforms. I would optimize campaigns within the platforms using those metrics. However, there's double reporting across things like Google and Meta. So if you can take all those metrics outside of the platform and you actually just look at the sales that you're getting every single day, understand what goes in and what comes out, and making sure that what's coming out is at a profitable rate for you, that's where I would measure success rather than within a platform.
Are you able to provide some specific tips to start looking at their marketing strategies?
Things that I would suggest for businesses, I think like my biggest tip at the moment is focus on your content creation. There's not a lot of businesses where I wouldn't recommend it. Whether you're an e-commerce brand, whether you're a service brand, maybe other than like, I don't know, emergency plumbers or, something where it's like an only on demand basis. But regular service or e-commerce businesses, having your own form of content gives you a voice, it gives you a position in the market, it gives you something to stand for. But at the moment, through Instagram, through TikTok, you can put content out there, or through LinkedIn as well, you can put content out there and you will get exposure and reach for free. I work with a brand that might spend, 10 grand a month on marketing, and you get, I don't know, maybe 100,000 impressions with that. You could post 10 TikToks and get that as well. It's understanding that you can actually get a lot for not much input. And I think the level of content that brands can create, it's simply talking to camera. It's showing them what you're doing. It's digging into the ins and outs of your business. I think getting over that initial hurdle of filming the content is hard. And then once you're there, it's easy to start to just get a little bit more comfortable with it. I went through that journey several years ago when starting to create content. But it's something where you can actually change the shape of your business without actually paying for it. And if you are investing in marketing, you should be investing in the content side of things, because that's where you can start to find your new audiences there and then hone in on those through marketing spend. And I mean, when you're running ads, you need an endless supply of content. And the way that the platforms are going at the moment, we have demand gen campaigns through Google, which is primarily focusing on video and images. We have, Andromeda, which has been launched through Meta, which is primarily focusing on much more content designed to much broader audiences.
I think we have to be so careful in this conversation, because some other founders listening might hear this quantity conversation and then just think, well, AI can spit out a bunch for me. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on AI for content, I think there's been a huge increase on the number of posts since ChatGPT has launched. And you can tell when there's a LinkedIn post that's been written by ChatGPT. It's got really long sentences. It has like triple commas in it. We've got M dashes everywhere. We've got emojis. I don't know if I would necessarily consider that content. We're all aware that it's AI now. So by all means, use AI for the first 80%, but go through it, make it you, make it have an opinion, make it have something that you stand for in it. I think being really clear about who you are and who you're speaking to start with before you start making content, or even if you are making content, take that time to just take that step back and figure out who you're speaking to. What is your target demographic? Because your goal isn't to appeal to as many people as possible. The goal is to appeal to that right demographic. And so even if you use agency owners as an example, each agency has a slightly different niche. They might be more creative, they might be more analytical, they might, create the ads for you, they might not. And so they each have this area where they're going to win business in, essentially. And so making sure that you're highlighting who you're speaking to, and then you just really hone in on those points. And that's why I love marketing, because you have that ability to really change someone's future with the way that you can market their product.
Yeah, I'm constantly surprised by how make or break it is. You can have so many other things going for you, but without the marketing, there's so much risk of everything falling flat.
100%. It's such an important part for a business as well. And, obviously you need to have a great product, but how you position that product or how you sell it, that's what's ultimately going to make the difference.
What is the key to building a media campaign that resonates both online and offline?
And do you have an example with a client?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would definitely say you might have two different campaigns.
Yep.
You might have an online campaign and an offline campaign that are kind of running parallel to each other. One I could think of was with a managed service provider who I work with. And, they basically had a captive audience for, who was always going to walk by their office and see them. But we also wanted to make sure they got other people.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we do that? Okay, they have this basically help desk that they've set up and just providing information. That's offline. We're also giving them on their social channels, on their website, just a lot of content. And what I think is, everything needs to be that useful, beneficial, helpful. If you're just putting out an ad, that's not going to do it, because we see ads so often. We have devices designed to block them. Mm-hmm. So people are avoiding ads. But if you have things like guides that help people, and that's what we were putting out for them, on LinkedIn, things like corporate IT guides, things you need at this stage, founder stage, 5-employee stage, going up. These are beneficial for you. That's something that pretty easy to produce and gets their name out there in a way that people remember them and remember, hey, these guys are helpful.
What's in my head, Joshua, is some people get told, or businesses get told, to put 3-4 social media posts out every week, and a lot of it's just rubbish. Is that what you're talking about, or you're talking about trying to create an overall image, or?
No, I definitely don't want things that go out that are trash because people remember then, okay, that's the trash company. We don't want that.
Yeah.
But if you can put out 1 or 2 really helpful posts, things that explain what you do, then that's something that people would probably benefit from. Some things work, some things don't. Try it. If it doesn't work, move on. Come back in 6 months, try it again. It could have been the timing was wrong. That was it. Maybe work the next time. So definitely always, be ready to pivot, but also to understand that it's not all going to work 100% of the time. It's not math. 1 + 1 does not equal 2 for this. It's input, and input again will get you some output, and hopefully it works.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, we adjust and we try again. The fancy word for it, we'll call it A/B testing, but it's really a lot of finding what works and eventually hitting on a formula and going.
Hey guys, just a quick break to thank our affiliate partner, HubSpot. We are thrilled to announce our partnership with HubSpot, the ultimate all-in-one CRM platform. HubSpot helps you streamline marketing, sales, and customer service with powerful tools to grow your business faster. From lead generation to automations, it's got you covered. By using the link in the description, you not only get to start your HubSpot journey for free, but you'll also be supporting our work here on the show. Now it's back to today's episode.
How do people start with their ads catering to AEO and GEO as well as SEO? And is SEO still the most important of these 3? Or I would assume at some point AEO is going to take over. But when do we think that might happen?
So I think it's going to happen in stages. You're going to see some types of consumers going much more to, an AI source before they go to, just Google search results.
Yeah.
And that might be certain demographics versus others. It might be people with, consumer questions where they're still kind of going to traditional Google searching for business questions. I say might be and maybe because like everyone else, we're still kind of figuring out what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't think SEO will be dethroned all at once.
Right.
I think it will happen, over time, and it will still play a role. When things that you hear about with, optimizing for, things like Gemini, which is Google's AI, or ChatGPT, is content, well-placed content rules in those, because that's where it pulls from. Well, where's it getting the well-placed content from?
Yeah.
Probably, again, we don't have the back end of, these engines, but probably highly ranked Google pages.
Absolutely.
But a paid ad isn't going to rank that highly. The content, that tool that we created for the accounting firm, that might be what ranks highly.
We now travel companies. So we've got 2 large travel e-commerce brands. With those, all our ads now are created by AI. So all the Facebook ad images and all the Facebook ad videos are all created by different AI tools. And then even like automating the way we build out travel destinations, it's all created by AI. Even some of the like the after sales, support, after hours phone support is done by an AI voice bot, and we have AI chatbots and that kind of thing. So it really has got into every aspect of our business. And what I have learned out of that was that you can whinge and complain about it, but if you are not doing any of those things and then you're competing with a brand like us who is doing those things, it's very, very hard to compete because it's just like having extra workers, for very little wages.
I've heard you say in the past is this concept of being directionally correct.
Yeah.
I know that's been a
big
big
one.
part of your success. Can you
Yes.
talk to that? Because I think that's a really, really interesting leverage point.
I love that you've picked up on that, Steve. Yeah. So I've always said this thing of just being directionally correct. What that means is like not everything that we're going to do is going to work. Not everything that we're going to do is going to be like successful in some one way or another. But as long as we're constantly moving in the right direction, then that's okay. For example, with diet and nutrition and exercise and all that kind of stuff, I used to be overweight. Not proud of it, but I just really didn't understand about nutrition and all that kind of stuff. And then I changed my mindset of, hey, that's not me anymore. I'm not going to be that anymore. And I learned all about nutrition and biohacking and supplementation, etc. And then, so most of the time I'll eat pretty well. But if I'm on the road and I've got to get somewhere, I'm happy to pull in and have a burger. It's not great, but I'm directionally correct most of the time, meaning that 80-90% of the time I'm directionally correct. And that's the same, whether it's with your business, your marketing, your diet, anything like that. Just think, hey, am I moving in the right direction? And if so, then I'm doing okay. So I think leading with value and then having marketing behind it. If you look at Alex Hormozi's most recent launch, right, it was one of the most successful launches in all time, if not from an info product point of view. But how much content did he put out? How much value did he put out beforehand? People already knew, liked, and trusted him. So that then when he made an offer, it was a no-brainer. It's not like, I don't know whether I can trust this guy. So that's kind of like one of the big things for me and why I'm now doing organic socials, whereas in the past, I've kind of avoided it. So that has been a big one. And the other thing was like just really using AI in the amplification of media. So, for example, with the Facebook ads, there's a tool called Ideogram AI, which allows us to create really beautiful images with writing on them, that kind of thing. Or there's another one called adcreative.ai, which it's not really that pretty, but it allows us to create a whole bunch of AI Facebook ads, like really, really fast, things like that. So just getting leverage, from those tools.
And they're starting to, why aren't we coming up in the search engines and stuff like that? And then going into Google and then trying to work out all of that, it's very overwhelming.
It can be. And I can understand where businesses who are newer in their journey, whether they be just trying to teach themselves Google or alternatively an agency who are trying to grow and understand Google a little better and understand why Google's making so many changes so frequently. I think it's important to remember that Google's trying to constantly make their platform, their search engine better.
Yeah.
So they're trying to weed out what we might call black hat SEO or black hat activities. So whilst the constant changes can be frustrating, I completely get it. And at some level, we can get frustrated as well. They're doing it with the best intent of their search engine to try and give the user the best possible result. But we're just embracing the change. We're kind of just enjoying it instead of getting cranky now, because some of the best lessons have come from some of that change. So you can have, say, it's an SEO campaign as an example. If it's going really well, that's great.
Yeah.
And you've learnt over time across many industries and many campaigns what's going well, and that's great. But all of a sudden, if there's an algorithm change and everything goes bad and a client's ringing up saying, hey, I haven't had a phone call for 2 weeks, and we're like, oh no, SHIT, what's happened here? Well, that's where the lessons come from us as the agency as well, to be better prepared for it, to make sure that we're circling in the right forums, groups, etc., that we know that some of these bigger changes are coming.
Yeah.
Because whilst you're trying to get it perfect, we can then talk about this thing we call speed to market.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have, and this is maybe better advice if you're a startup and you have a certain product or so, and it is quite unique and could be revolutionary and game-changing, if you can't get to market because you're tweaking it, so that in your own mind it's 100%, you then get it to the market and that takes you 2 years. You then get it to the market and the market tells you there's no demand for what you've got. You've wasted 2 years of your life.
Yeah.
And who knows how much money you've spent.
Yeah.
And then you're mentally exhausted at the end of that and potentially broke in many ways. So you don't realise, but getting it to the market at maybe 80%, I don't know what the percent, there's not an approximate percentage that's correct.
Yeah.
But you've got to get that to the market, your product, service, whatever the case may be. And if you're going to sit around and worry about how pretty your office is and whether you've got nice business cards and T-shirts and all that stuff, that's rubbish.
Yep.
Rubbish.
You said launch your new website, just get the sucker live.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and part of that is that you'll be looking at your new site and in your eyes, there's some imperfections.
Yeah.
But the masses out there, they don't know.
Yeah.
And particularly when some of your imperfections are things behind the scene that are not front-end visual on a website, but you're saying, oh, I know it doesn't do ABC yet, the audience is never going to see it. And if they do, they don't care.
No, they don't.
They're not looking at the pretties.
No,
they're actually looking at to try and make their mind up as to whether or not you can solve my problem.
Yeah.
This is a kind of transactional thing.
Yeah.
I've got a problem. Are you the solution? If you're not, I'll go to the next one. So if you're sitting at home behind closed doors getting it perfect, or in your eyes perfect, and then the market can still tell you it's not perfect.
Yeah.
And then that's a hard lesson.
Yeah.
So
a timely one too.
Yeah. Knowing the numbers internally within a campaign so that we can present numbers in a logical manner to your client so they can see that what they're investing in is worthing.
Mm-hmm.
So the challenge with an SEO campaign is that SEO as a service is intangible. It goes on in the background and there's skepticism and et cetera, and people don't know whether they're getting a result.
Yep.
So until they start to get more phone calls, more people filling out the form, and they start to make more money, at the beginning, they're skeptical. They're like, we don't know what you guys are doing. I can't see it. I've just got to take your word for it. I'm reluctant. I've been done over once in the past by the sharks down the road who promised me the world, delivered nothing.
Yeah.
Everyone's unfortunately had that bad SEO agency experience. And even more so since COVID, the backyard agencies drop up everywhere because all of a sudden everyone's watched a YouTube video and they think they're an expert. So knowing the numbers within some of those campaigns to be able to say, hey, hang on, even if it's at a very high level, hey, you spent $4 for the month. We know that your average invoice is $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
So you got 10 leads. You had the opportunity to quote 10 jobs. So that's the opportunity to quote $10,000. You invested 4. The difference is 6.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's very high level.
Yeah.
I know and that's not even considering what their margins are and all that sort of stuff. But even just being able to share that level of reporting with someone to say, look, we are trying to report to you based on your numbers and metrics that matter. So can you help us out by commenting each month with the feedback, like numbers that we're seeing at our end, are they working at your end?
Mm-hmm.
To be able to show them some sort of tangible result. So it's kind of numbers for us as the owner, but numbers within a campaign now that's very marketing related. And here's something business related to the police and marketing that you might find funny knowing those areas, but generally speaking, anyone in a business sense will get this. The police is the only business in the world. They don't have to do any marketing, and all day, every day, the door swings off the hinges. Yep. You have clients coming in the door all day, every day from no marketing. They have the ultimate business model, and you don't have to pay.
You don't.
Everyone comes in, you don't have to pay.
So I would say kind of pick 2 platforms that are going to be your core platforms, and it will depend on your audience and your type of business. So if you're in B2B, that's kind of looking more like LinkedIn or Facebook's a bit more local.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're in a mid-range of age demographic, Instagram's a really great one. But picking 2 to focus on, one core one and then a support one, is a great way to start.
What do you find is the most emerging platform at the moment?
Probably TikTok, but that's definitely still a bit of a younger audience.
Mm-hmm.
It's growing for sure, but would be the newest one.
Can you discuss how Soboard Socials creates meaningful connections?
So a lot of times clients first come to me and they're like, I want to go viral. I want this many followers by this date.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because when you look at it, you're not an influencer, you're a business and you're trying to sell. So you're not just there to get views and likes, and they won't just equal a sale for you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're getting a viral moment, that's great for a bit of a boost in brand awareness, but it doesn't mean people care about your brand.
That's so true.
Or that they are going to buy from you. So those people who are engaging with all of your posts, who are your correct demographic, who are going to advocate for your brand, post it to their story, that's free marketing for you, tell their friends and family, that's who you should really, really be focused on.
Can I have an example again?
If you're getting a viral post, that's great for
people know about who you are. Like I know about a cafe in Gold Coast really well, but I don't live there. So I'm not going to buy from them.
Yeah.
And so making sure that it's the people who live in your area and say they repost that to their followers, there are 1,000 followers, but that's 100% your demographic and they all live in the area. And they all are taking that credibility from that repost of that cafe or that restaurant, and they think it's a good one because someone they know has recommended it, or they just straight up go tell their friends because they see you all the time. So that's where you're seeing people convert into customers.
Converts into sales.
Yeah.
To help support our continued mission to provide free, best-in-class advice from the world's most compelling business leaders, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you never miss an episode. See you next Thursday. Thanks for tuning in to The Business Game. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook and LinkedIn to stay connected. A big thank you to our major sponsor, Carla Offshore, for powering today's episode. And join us again on the next episode of The Business Game, a podcast that moves the needle.